Before we move on, I actually do want to show a bit more about align items, because I feel like there hasn't actually been that many good examples here. We can see it here, but I want to really visually show it. So we have quite a lot of space left at the bottom. We could just get rid of the height now. I just did set it as something to sort of show that this is the sort of area we're working with. So let's set align items on a few things. So this left hand side here, we can see that we're in a column which is going down. This whole section has a column attribute on the flex direction, and align items, as typical, is set by stretch here. And look at these areas here. So if you think this director Christopher Nolan, it's actually really small, but the border goes across the whole way, and by default align items is set as stretch. Let's go into the code and let's change it to flex start, flex end, and see, and well, flex center as well. Oh, sorry, just center, and see what happens. So we're going to go into here, and our section from it is just called left. So if we go into left, we don't actually have one on its own. So let's create one, left, and let's do align items. As I said, it's set as stretch by default. So let's put flex start. Let's see how it affects our page. So as I said, we had direct for Christopher Nolan. It's actually quite a small area. This should be right to Christopher Nolan, by the way, I just realized. And now that we don't have stretch set, you can see that everything's bunched up on the left hand side or at the start. And that is what you'd expect. And if we look on here, we should be able to find align items. So here, this is set as a row. But if we see flex start, everything's sort of pushed towards the top. Of course, in a column, that would mean everything pushed to the left. So yeah, that's quite a good way of looking at things. This align constant as well is for when you're doing wrapping, but I would leave that to you. That's sort of your homework, to look at sort of how things wrap in flex, the shorthand for flex, etc., as I mentioned before. So we're going to go back and you're going to guess flex start. So if I change that to flex end, what's going to happen? Hopefully you got that right. And also flex center as well. We're just going to do that quickly. Sorry, just center. I'm going to go back to that quickly, and we can see that in the center there. So yeah, that was just, I wanted to really visually show align items, because we did touch on it very briefly for this bottom area, but I wanted to show you in more detail. We're going to go back. We're going to change that, of course, to stretch, or we could delete it entirely because it is the default setting, and left and right as well. So I just want to mess with this for a second. So we've mentioned justify content as well. We've mentioned space between, space around, space evenly. But what about if we put flex end on it? So have a guess of what happens. 3, 2, 1. We go to the end. So everything's like you expect, you know, nothing crazy is happening here. And if you're wondering how it's happening, what's going to happen when you apply certain things, you know, as I said, use that complete guide to Flexbox page here. Really, really useful. If you forget something or think something, there may be a better tool that you're forgetting about, whatever it is really useful. So yeah, I just wanted to show that it's quite good to see how the different things work, and a lot of the terminology is the same. So for align items, flex end is the same for justify content, flex end, but of course different axes they are being applied to. So let's revert that. We don't want that like that. So now we can work on the right hand side. So let's go down here, right hand side, and start working on the right. I'm just going to copy down this right here. I feel like it just makes sense to have that on the right for obvious reasons. And on the right hand side, let's go to the snippet. So we have the flex direction of the whole section in a column, as was mentioned before. And similarly to the left hand side, we have these sort of sections that clearly have a row. This first section in particular is interesting because we do have this sort of split here with this watch on Prime Video and rent/buy. And this is maybe another bit of homework for you to do now, so maybe try do this quickly before I do it now. So yeah, this is your chance to do it. And these all are going to have very, very similar outputs to the left. So it's all going to be sort of rows. This one is basically exactly the same as before, and this bottom one is the same as here. So let's get into these now. On the right, we're therefore going to have a couple of containers. So we're going to just call this the very inventive name as right container. We have, let's just say there's 3 of these, and on the bottom we're going to have a p tag that I'm just going to copy paste in. There we go, that's pasted in now. We just refer back to here quickly. We just see that at the top the div's completely empty, so of course they're not taking up any space. Right container, we have the sort of play button, and I'm just going to do this with a hyper and arrow. Let's see how that turns out. And the second section I'm going to put in its own div, and this is going to have 2 spans. So the spans are going to contain the sort of rent by, and they're going to contain the watch on Prime Video. So I'm just copying those in now, and straight away you can think about how these are going to be put in. So of course we're going to put, we're not going to give this its own class name, we can just use the right container. So we can use right container to begin with. All these containers, same as the left hand side, had their text and the little image or whatever they had on the left in a row. So let's put these, the display as flex. Notice how I'm doing it the sort of same motion every time as well. This is how I was taught to do it through a game called Flexbox Zombies, which I really recommend. I'm going to link at the end as well. So we've got display flex, we've got flex direction is the next attribute you want to set, and that's of course in a row. And justify content on this one, I think it will be fine by default, but we're just going to set it as flex start just to make sure. And for that, well, let's do align items as well, because straight away we're thinking, you know, we had that problem on the left hand side where we had our 2 items but they were slightly separated like that, the IMDb bit. So let's just set this as center anywhere, and this should help us with the problem that we're going to see in a second, and I'll take the align items off and we'll see what happens without it. So we've got that right container sorted now. So we have all of these, this span and div are in a row, but notice how I said before at the very start with flex, the direction is set by the parent. So display flex will work on the parent, but this div in here hasn't actually got any direction set on it. So if we go back to the code, we can see that all of it is in a row. But actually we want this watch on Prime Video and the rent by from GBP 3.49 to actually be in a column. Let's go back here. So we've got this div here, so we've got right container. I've noticed that's but rather than by as well. So we've got right container, and we're going to use this selector. We're going to go into div, and of course we're going to do display flex direction, this time into a column, and here we should be all good to go. And yet see how that's set nicely. We're just going to put some padding on the right of the my little weird flag / play button arrow there. So let's go into this span here. So we're just going to put, actually we're just going to put it here, so we're going to put it on the left of this instead. So let's put margin left 1 rem. Go back to the code. That's pretty much sorted, but one thing I said I was going to do is I was going to take the align items off. So let's see what happens when I comment this out. We go back and see how it's at the top now. Hopefully you were expecting that to happen. And if we go into this and we put flex end, you're going to have to guess what happens while I'm typing it. So flex end there, we go back here. Of course it's at the bottom of this flex axis. So this whole area, which is the yellow bit here, is in a row. And of course, that means align items is in the vertical axis. And when we set flex end, that attacks the sort of bottom side of that container. So hopefully you were expecting that. So we're going to go back, set it to center. And we're also going to put this div here, yellow. We're going to put all of these as the background color of gray. But with this one in particular, we actually want the background color to be yellow, of course. And we're going to change the color to black. So the text just isn't massively hidden. We're going to put let's put a border radius on as well. I'm pretty sure it had a little bit, 0.5 rem maybe. Let's go back. And we can see, yeah, that's, oh, okay, I've definitely misplaced that element selector. We've put the right, oh, okay, yeah, it's not that. My mistake. It is, of course, both of these onto the whole container. And there we go, that's actually sorted now. And now we need to build out the other containers. So we go back, we've got more watch options, add to watch list. We've also got this little arrow here. I'm just going to put it as a right caret. No need to go into font awesome or whatever it is to get this sorted. So let's do those. We've got this one, super simple, a span that has more watch options. And in this container, we've got plus add to watch list. Oh, I forgot to do the span on it. And like I mentioned before, we have that little arrow at the end as well. So of course we want to get that in. We're just going to put that as a right caret. So hopefully you're going to guess what's coming in there. So if we're going to look at the right container, we should be expecting everything to be stuck on the left. And to separate this, we're going to need an attribute. So hopefully you're saying out loud now, you need to do this, you need to do this. So I'm going to call the class dot between, and we're going to put justify content between, space between there. And we're just going to use the cascade to overwrite it. So right container between. And there we are, the arrow is on the right hand side. We're going to put some padding on this as well. It looks pretty bad being so close to the edges. So let's put some padding on the containers. Go back, right container. Let's definitely put some margin on there as well. So padding 0.5 rem. And let's just put margin as 0.5 rem as well. Go back and we're looking okay. See, I've got an extra div in here. Where have you come from? Where's the... Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's go back to the page. And there we are, really. That's kind of it. Of course, we could have more CSS, all that sort of stuff. But there's no real need to. If we go back as well, we can remove the height. Let's get rid of that. And then that's kind of it, really. You know, we've done the flex, we've got everything where it should be. Now, of course, we could add some extras if we wanted to. So you can see there's a lot of this blue. We could, of course, create a class just called blue text. You can tell I'm quite into Tailwind now because I'm doing all these like B border, yellow, all that sort of stuff. It's really helped me with my CSS in a vanilla sort of sense. So if we just had a class that was called blue text, we just put a color of blue, apply it to all these sort of spans, and that would be pretty close. We could add some more padding to the center, which bring it a little bit closer. Of course, like we could use a color picker, take that red, take all these grays, etc. But yeah, that's kind of it for the flex. I really hope it helped. As I said, we can go to this page here, and some of the things I did, there's really like 4 major things you need to do, which is display flex, set the parent container to flex that you're targeting, and if you are having issues, then make sure that you are targeting that properly, and that the parent container is containing the flex items that you're wanting to change the position of, and you don't have, say, a container that then contains a div has a few things, or a list that has a few things in, because of course you're going to have to apply display flex to that instead of the parent container, or even as well as we have the flex direction, which sets the main direction of the flex, so whether that's in a column or a row. And of course, actually, I may as well show this quickly, but if we go on to this here, so flex direction column, just to show you, column reverse, what happens? We can go back and everything's upside down. And so yeah, just wanted to show that it does actually work. Row, of course, would switch these around as well. Other important things, so we had the display flex, flex direction, the justify contents and how things are separated. So here we've got the flex start, everything bunched up at the start, flex end, everything bunched up at the end, center, space between, all these things, and that I showed you visually as well. And finally, align items. So there's like 4 major things. Align items, the last one, so that is the axis that is perpendicular to the flex direction. So if we've got a column, align items will be how things are on the horizontal axis. If we've got a row, then that'll be how things are on the vertical axis. And this is covered here as well, just here. And yeah, that's it, the 4 major things. As I said before as well, your homework is to take what I've taught you and sort of go into align content, see what happens when you start introducing flex. You'll need to use align content then, and you can see how it's been applied here. And those shorthand ways as well, so flex flow and just flex in general, all these sort of things. There's loads of cool like shorthand things that you can do to reduce the amount of code that you're writing. But first, get to grips with the sort of basics of flex. That's it for me today. I really hope that it did help someone. If it did help you, please let me know. I'd really love to know, because that's what all my videos are for, really. I just aim to try and help one person improve in their sort of software development journey. So if that person was you, please let me know. Also, I'd really like to see some more comments. So it's not for like channel growth, it's for to see what you guys want. So if you want me to do more Flexbox stuff, if you want another Tailwind tutorial, if you want me to cover something from a bootcamp that maybe you have a question about, please let me know. I'm going to pin a comment in there below just saying suggestions for next video, because I do really want to sort of make this for you guys. To do make these videos for you people, so it would be great to have some input and sort of steer me in the right direction, because of course it's just me starting right now. So you know, I don't know what people want. So if you do want more Flexbox, if you want something basic, semantic HTML, maybe some Java, Spring Boot, whatever it is, please do let me know, because I'm really happy to do them. I really enjoy making them, and I'm trying to get better at sort of graphic design and video editing as well. So hopefully you can see that got the mic as well, got that working properly. So yeah, I am trying to make better quality content, and as well improve the things that I'm covering, so they're more suited to the people that actually watch my channel. See you next time.